Hi designers, it's Haley with Silver Moon Design School and welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make a book cover mock-up using Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Dimension. I'll show you how to create the 3D object files using Adobe Illustrator, and then we'll take them into Adobe Dimension, style them, apply materials, and add your graphics so that you can showcase your book designs in a custom and unique way. This tutorial should be pretty quick and easy, but if you're super short on time, I do sell my mock-ups on Creative Market. You can go there, purchase them, and apply your graphics quickly and have something ready in like 5 minutes. So that is an option, but if you've got some time, if you have more time than money, and you want to learn how to make these yourselves, follow along, I'll show you right here. So I'm going to start with a new file in Illustrator, and I have two layers here. I have my reference layer where I have placed this reference image of a book. I have that on my Dropbox linked below so that you can download and follow along. And I have that on its own layer, and I have it locked so that I can work on my art layer, a layer above, so that nothing that I do here is affected and I'm not moving that image around. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of imagining just from knowing how a book cover looks from the top. You can see that there's the spine, right? It bubbles out and it has this nice front panel. So to achieve this, the best way that I can think is to draw the top, like if I'm looking at the very top of a book, looking down. So I'm gonna start with a rectangle, and I'm just gonna draw the width of what I think the book would be. And if you already have a book cover in mind, this is when you can pull those dimensions so that you make it exactly the book dimensions for like a real project. But since I'm just making this up, I'm going to choose the size of the book that I want to create. So I drew my rectangle, and I'm going to snip one side away, and I'm just going to choose the same side that is right here. So from here, I am going to take these anchor points and round them in to create the end of the book. And if we imagine that it's a hard spine, I'm going to keep that pretty flush, right? And then I need to create this indent right here. So I'm just going to draw a little circle like this. I'm going to drag it to the end here, but I don't need it to be in the middle completely. So I'm going to drag these down. Command G to group, and then selecting both, I will just even that up so that it's the same on the top and the bottom. From here, again, highlight both things, come to our Pathfinder tool and use minus front, and that will give us that spinal indent. And then I can round those even more so that it gives us that nice cover effect. And it has joined us back over here, so I will need to go snip those again if that happened to you, so that we have the open spine. And then I'm going to add this rounded effect under the stroke so that the caps of my line are round. And then I'm going to increase the stroke to about 2 points thickness. And then from here, I can also just highlight with my A arrow, like all of these, and I can make it as thick or thin as I want. I think I'll create something that's thick like this. And then for the pages on the inside, I'm going to draw a rectangle that fits snugly right inside. So I do need to recess this inside because the overhang looks like it's about right there. So then I'm going to use my scissors tool and snip so that I just have this one line. Then I'm going to come to Effect and Distort and Transform and choose Zigzag. And this is where I'm going to turn the size down really, really low and then go up with my ridges per segment. And I'm also going to add Smooth. And I can add as many pages. So if it was a really thick book, you'd want to add more pages. But just whatever represents the thickness there. And then we can go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then that will give us the shape, and this will also give us the top of the book. All right, so let's go ahead and create some of these pieces. That'll give me a better idea of what I'm working with. So I'm going to take my book cover here just away from the inside pages for a minute, and I'm going to go to 3D and materials, and I'm going to click on extrude. All right, and so then if I choose a lighter color, so if I choose a light gray, we'll be able to see more of what's happening. So if you have your units and measurements set up, mine is set to points right now because I just updated my software and it's not quite how I want it yet. Anyways, the depth, I could still put, you know, if it was a 10-inch book, you can still type in 10 inches and it would bring you there. I'm kind of gonna just eyeball the depth here because again, I'm not working from a real example. I'm just creating dimensions that look good to me. So this is looking good over here. Rotation, rotation. And you can see that it's hollow in the middle, and that's exactly what we want to replicate from our example. So I'll want to remember this depth because that's what we're going to be recreating with the inside pages. So I'm going to make a copy of this really quick actually, and I'm going to choose white and white, and then click extrude on this too. And I'll choose the same depth. If we zoom in, we'll be able to see there's all the ridges of the pages that we created. And so this will be the piece that goes right there. And then all we'll need is the solid block inside to connect to the rest of the pages. So I will choose the same color here and make sure that it is solid, and then click extrude again. Choose that depth of 238 points or whatever your measurements are. And yeah, I mean, that's even looking pretty convincing right there. I like that. Having it open like that with the extra stroke, you can see there's a fill and a stroke, so that will add extra. If you didn't want the page dimensions, you could just go with this and it would be smooth, but I think that this little piece will add a lot of texture that'll be really good for different angles. All right, so now I'm going to highlight all three of those pieces, right click, collect for export and as multiple assets. And you'll see in the asset export panel, name it whatever makes sense to you. Okay, and then highlight all of those, make sure they all have that blue outline. Go to the drop down menu and choose OBJ file. Click on this export button and save. Now I have a new open file in Adobe Dimension, and first thing I always do, click on zoom 100% and increase the size of my canvas here to maybe 2000. I'm going to do a little bit less than that today. And I'm also going to choose a resolution of 300. So I have a really high resolution, nice quality rendering. From here, we just start dragging and dropping in our files. So we'll follow along as I do that. I'm just using these rotate tools to get everything aligned. As you can see, it kind of gives me like a top and a bottom. So I'm going to try to use that as best as I can. And rotating around to get the angle that we want for rendering. And now that I have a camera bookmark that I like, I can save that. So I'll say this can be angle 1. I'm going to bring in the pages next. And I'm just going to place that there for a minute at this like right angle, not angled to fit the spine yet, because I want to get the pages and the outer pages lined up. So if I bring in these, can use that click to bottom little shortcut, then I have outer pages, pages, and spine. And I can select the pages and the outer pages and use the align tools here in Adobe Dimension. So I can align center, but then also align to the front so that it gets pretty flush with the front of the grouping. And then I can group together, Command G, and just call this pages now. So when we click away, we can see a little bit better here if we move around how it really does appear to be pages. And then the other hack that we can do is go to that outer pages again and Command D to duplicate. And you can reuse this for the top of your book too. So since we're probably going to have an angle where we do view the top of it, let's go ahead and add that so that if you look at it from the top or the bottom, those page ridges are there. The only thing is that we're going to have to shorten the width of it, right? Because it's a little taller than it is long. So with pages, it's looking like this is the x-axis, that's 6.02. So when we come back to this, we'll have to choose under the Z 6.02. And that will set us up. Again, we can use our align tools or just manually move them, but that will set us up to have the top and the sides look good together. And we can sink that down in a little bit, but it's all still grouped together. So now with the spine, we can rotate it back to like a 40-degree angle, and we can select the pages in the spine, come to our line tool and center, and then choose the front, but we wanted it to be recessed in, right? So we want to still come back to the pages here, and we want to tuck those in. So now we can spin around. It matches the height, and we can also check out our render preview really quick. It's going to be really, really bright because it's a white background and a white object. So we can come to the environment light and turn down the intensity just a little bit. If you have some dark contrasting graphics, then you won't need to do this as much because there will be contrast. Or if you choose a black background, that will also help you a lot. But you can see that we probably still need a little piece in the back, or we could even just scooch this forward that much more. You could add the binding if you wanted. I'm not too concerned about it, but it could just be like one extra little line that you extrude out. I might shrink down the size. Let's see, that was the x-axis. Yeah, I might choose 6.3. Very, very good. And we could spend some more time getting this top piece right at the corner so that it lines up and it's a really smooth transition. We can also apply our materials at this stage. So if we go back to the pages, if we go and we grab our diagonal paper material and we drag it to the folder, it will then apply that to all of the objects within this grouping. And if you wanted to separate them and give them individual colors, then you would click this break link to material button, and then you could make individual changes. But otherwise, now that we have all of those OBJ files in that group, we can just slide and change the color and it will apply those to all three things. So that's a nice little cheat, but it can be confusing if you aren't familiar with using that tool and that technique. And you'll be like, why is it changing all of the colors, all the materials? That would be why. All right, so now we can also choose a finish for our cover. We can choose a glossy finish. I kind of like a matte finish. I'm like a matte finish girl through and through. So I'm gonna choose matte, and then I'm gonna probably choose like a navy color for my book based on my brand colors. So let me go back to angle 1, which we now will have to adjust. So let me group these together and adjust. Oh, I did not group, or I did not select both. Make sure both are highlighted and then rotate, and that will give us that book cover. And then since I changed the angle a little bit, I will click on this spinning wheel to refresh the angle. So if I move, it will bring me back to that new angle. Okay, so now that I have my model all set up, it's time to add the graphics. So what I've done here is I've created a quick book cover and I've added some graphics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group together the different pieces. I'm going to select these, right click, click for export as multiple, but this time we're going to choose PNG. So I've got my icon, I have my author note, and I have the title. And I'm going to show you how to do this version where you just have text on a color background, and also show you how to save out an entire graphic. So if you had a really colorful, full illustration book cover, I'll show you how to do that next. But we'll just start with this version. So exporting, So now that I have those, I'll need the hex value for the color that I want for my background. So I'll select that. I also think maybe we could do like a woven texture. Like maybe that would look nice. Or it could be leather. Let's do a nice leather bound book here. Oop, and I applied it. See how I highlighted? I applied that material to all. So I'll just undo that, drag it only to the spine. And then that grain pattern looks a little large, so I'm going to drag this repeat until it's the size that I want it to be. And then base color, I'm going to choose this hex value and paste that in. Beautiful. So now I have this nice leather grain. I'm also going to rotate this around so I can have a front view like this. And I'll name this camera bookmark front. And then I'll start dragging in my title, calling this one The Mystery of Adobe, with my author, and I'm just dragging these in and sizing them all individually. Beautiful. You could select them and put them all in as one, but I kind of like moving them around a little bit as I like. Here's also where I can add some metallic features. So if I wanted it to look like it was stamped in, I can add a little bit of shimmer and shine. That's good. And then if we go back to our other angle, angle 1, this is maybe where we can see a little bit more of that metallic shine, and I can apply that to all of it. So I chose 57%, so I'll choose 56, 57, it's pretty much the same. And that way we'll be able to see my book and the book cover. All right, so now what happens if you want to showcase one that has a full cover? So you will need to know the dimensions. Like I said, you'll probably already know this if you've created your book cover, but I'm going to come to transform here and click and see that my width is 2.5 inches. So I'll create a rectangle that is 2.5 inches. And then the height we have under 3D materials, and that is 238 points. So I'll come back to the shape, 238 points, and it will convert it for me so that I have my illustration here. So this, I'm just going to create the same book cover. I'll grab this, bring it over here into this, size it down, but I'm going to add some swirls, maybe some little textures behind it. So here we go. I don't even need that anymore, but I will need this. So go back, choose my blue, and then I'm just going to draw some like blobs because I just think that this would be somewhat mysterious and speak to what the topic of the book would be. So then I gotta go find all my blobs here. I'm gonna choose my color, but I'm gonna go a little bit darker, I think. Yeah, dark's looking good. I'm also going to bring that to the front, select my blobs, and create a clipping mask. And then I need to go add my background back to it so that we have my little blob shapes, and move my layers, and ta-da, there's the Mystery of Adobe. I'm going to select all of that, right click, and click for export as a single asset, and this is book cover. And I'm going to choose 4x should be plenty large, so I'm going to save that out. All right, so I'm going to group this together. This will be book 1. And then I'm going to choose another one. I just clicked Command D to duplicate, and maybe we'll lay this one on its side. Just lay this one down, 90, just like this. Place that one there, and then book number 1 we can stack right on top there. And again, we just drag and drop that cover on there. So we'll want to delete these other graphics that we placed on. And then we double click on the graphic until it shows up, and this is when we can size and scale until it fits. It takes a little bit of finesse, a little bit of eyeballing to get it to fit just right, but there it is. And now we can see that we've got our nice leather-bound book with a custom graphic on it. And again, you can change the finish to matte if you wanted it to be more matte for this one, and the other one looks like it's leather with it imprinted. I kind of do like that leather. I think I'll keep that. So also with lighting, you can adjust that. I like to add a 3-point light. I just find that it highlights and gives those shadows that I like. So you can see here that it just brings an extra vibrancy that the main default lighting doesn't give you. So that's what I'm going to go with. I can increase the intensity, rotation, you can spin it around. I like a long cast shadow usually. You can bring the height up or down, which extends the shadow. Same with the environment light. And then to render this out, you click from this design tab in the top left to this render tab, and your camera bookmarks will be here. So you click on all the different angles. I usually unselect current view because I've already saved all the bookmarks with the ones that I like. Then make sure you've got a name here, not just untitled, freeballing like I am. And then choose your format. I like PSD because I like to remove the backgrounds and have transparent PNGs. If you just choose PNG, it will include the background most likely. And then I choose where I save it and then click render and let it go. And here's how that looks when it's all done. Alright designers, this wraps up my tutorial showing you how to make a 3D book cover. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a comment below and subscribe to my channel for more content. It really helps me out and I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all of your support. Until next time.